Those were the days.
You know, I'm talking about the days, you know. I was just thinking, I said, you know, I remember the first time I ever met Jimi Hendrix. You know, it was a night I was playing with Tyree Glenn Junior, you know, Louis Armstrong Godchild. And we was playing like way downtown, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. He said, Van, let's go over here, man, by the Peppermint Lounge on Times Square. I said, okay, let's go. He said, you ever been in there? I said, not really, you know. I only been in New York for, what, a couple of years. This was like 65. I got in New York in 63, you know. And he said, well, oh, man. He said, King Curtis is here. He said, you ever met King? I said, no, I've spoke with him a few times on the phone. I said, but the money wasn't right, man. You know? He said, yeah. He said, come on, meet King, man. I went in and met King Curtis, and we talked, and a few other people came in. Later on, we had to get out of there because we had to go in the studio the next morning, which would have been a Thursday morning. We was working, like, what, 6 nights a week, man, downtown in those days. You know, you worked regular. So we got outside, and Tyree lived in New Jersey. I lived in the Bronx. I lived in Harlem at that time, and he had to take me to 127th Street and Madison Avenue. And it was a little rain coming down. We jumped in his car. His dad always let him drive the old Mercedes Benz. He never let him touch the other. His mother had one, his dad had one. He had the old one. So we heard someone bam on the hood of the car. Bam, bam. We said, what the He looked up. The guy said, hey, man. He said, man, how's it going? Tyree said, hey, man, what's going on? The guy looked over at me, said, hey, blood. And this is the first time I ever seen anyone give me a foot, you know, like, well, he had to stretch over Tyree. He was over the driver's side. He just said, hey, blood. And he said, man, Tyree, you don't call me no more, man, for gigs. Tyree said, man, I call you, man, but you don't even show up. You don't even send a replacement. What I'm supposed to do? He said, I know, man. He said, it ain't your fault. He said, you know, he's been having little problems, man. He said, but everything's cool now. He said, I got a new phone call, a new phone number and everything. He said, look, you got a pen? Tyree reaching the glove compartment and got a piece of paper and a pen, and he was on the top of the hood writing it down. And he said, hey, man. He said, here you go. He said, getting a little wet out here. He said, but look, man, give me a call, man. He said, hey, blood, take care, man. I said, you too, man. Tyree pull off. I said, Tyree, who is that? He said, man, that ain't nobody but Jimi Hendrix. And pull off. And I knew that Jimi Hendrix, well, I never met Jimmy before, but I know he was playing with some people I played with, like Rosa King and all those people. Rosa King at that time. God bless her, you know. And Tyree and I went to Portugal in a couple of years. So when we got in Portugal in '67, we was in the Algarve. And Tyree, we was trying to put a band together with the Portuguese kids. And Tyree, we had to feel them out to find out what kind of music they played, right? So we said, hey, Tyree said, por qué tu gosto americano conjuntos? You know, he's just asking the Portuguese kids what kind of American music they like. So the drummer looks at the bass player and they yell out together, Sammy Davis Jr. Tyree said, no, R&B, rock and roll. So another guy yells out, Jimi Hendrix, and they all said, yeah, Jimi Hendrix. And Tyree looked at me, I looked at Tyree, and I think Tyree's mind went back to 2 years earlier at the same time with me. We started laughing and we couldn't stop. We was crying and laughing. And the kids, and I had to explain, I said, look, this isn't, no offense to you, something just happened to us a couple of years ago. And we just laughed because Jimi Hendrix was #1 in England and in the States at that time. You know what I mean? And Tyree said, wow, ain't there something? We said, Jimi Hendrix, he's nobody. But all of a sudden, Jimi Hendrix was on the top of the world at this time. And here we are in the Algarve just trying to get a band together, you know what I mean? And that was really different.